Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Lipff Film Festival, the Lake International Film Festival, open forum for distributors. And I'm your host, Lucy MUTHUI. I'm a media consultant based in Kenya. And we have a great panel lined up. They're going to be taking us through the distribution process and how they run their distribution networks. I've had this question coming up from different producers locally within East Africa. Who are these distributors who are based in this region? So the Lipff Festival has done an amazing job and has brought on board different distributors from different parts of the continent. And in today's session, I'm glad to be hosting the one and only Tony Mwite, who is the founder and director of Clark & Hampton, which is a distribution company. So I'll give the floor to introduce himself. And I think expectations we expect from this forum is to know how does he acquire content, where does he represent our content, and which business models he uses. So the floor is yours. Tell us what you do, what does your company do, and then now we'll go into details about your distribution model. Karibu.
Okay, thank you, Lucy. I appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. Yes, as you heard, my name is Tony Mwite. I'm the founder, director of Clark & Hampton. And Clark & Hampton is a media content agency. We distribute largely television content to other channels across Africa. But within our catalog, we also do have African films. Good morning, everyone. We have more success with television content, so primarily that's the place we play. Now, I'll start by just the distribution process, how one works with a producer, how one works with a distributor if you're a producer, to be able to get your content out there. Now, in this market, where I think, as a disclaimer, I'll put, we're a small market. Kenya is a small market, so we have very few distributors here. And the stories you hear of the US distributors is not really the same case here. But that said, there's still a small network here, and a lot of people here put their best foot forward. So the best time to contact a distributor would be at your pre-production stage, when you're crafting the concept, when the concept is a bit mature, not really when it's at its infancy, but when you have a mature concept. That would be the best time to have a chat with a distributor, so that you can have some of his or her guidelines and requirements while you're still at the pre-production stage, so that if there are elements that need to come into the script writing, into the production work, perhaps the distributor might give you guidance on what different markets are looking for. And so you're able to input those requirements into the scripting at a much early stage, at a more convenient stage, which pre-production is. But that said, more often than not, we encounter content when it's already been produced. So a producer produces a show for a channel, say KTN. It does its run on KTN, and then they contact us looking for new markets where this content can run again. And usually that would be if a TV program aired in Kenya, more often than not, we would then, together with the producer, be looking at foreign markets. Here we're talking Uganda, Tanzania, South Africa, Botswana, so on and so forth. And so by and large, that's where the relationship starts for us. It tends to happen after production. But my guidance is it's best to contact a distributor before production. So how does it work? How does the relationship between a producer and a distributor work? Now, there are many models, but I find that because we are a small market, we then decided to have a very loose model. There are more formal models where the distributor would be paying you some type of deposit as a producer to guarantee the sales or the licensing sales of that particular TV program. But as I said, because we're a small market, we found that we don't have the capacity really to every time offer those kind of deposits. So what tends to happen is either the producer would get in touch with us just by virtue of our reputation, or we would be scouting for television content. That means we're looking for trailers on YouTube. Time to time, I just search Kenyan TV programs, African TV programs, Ugandan TV programs. And so one of the places you need to, when you're looking at marketing your content, you definitely need to have a trailer on YouTube. It's kind of become the standard now to have. So make sure it's there, make sure it's authentic, make sure it's very descriptive of the film. I've seen a lot of trailers that need almost more script writing because they don't really define the story very well. So put your trailer on YouTube so that when we are looking and others are looking, we can be able to find you. Make sure there's some type of contact on YouTube. I know there's an about section where you can put your email address, or perhaps at the end of the trailer, if you can have some type of email address or phone number so that people can get in touch with you. So that's what happens. Either producers get in touch with us or we get in touch with producers just by virtue of us scouting out for content. So the next stage after that is then we start having a relationship with you, the producer. So we've engaged on email and on phone calls. I've told you, look, I think your content is nice. Please let us know a little more about it. So I'll then send you a program requirements form, which will be a more detailed form for us to get more details about the content. So it'll have the name of the show, it'll have the number of episodes, it'll have the duration, it'll have a link to the trailer, it will have a short synopsis, it will include things like broadcast history, where has this content aired before, so on and so forth. So it's a little more descriptive about, so we need more description about the content. What is this that you actually have? You'll find that sometimes we find that there's very good content out there, but you find it's only 13 episodes, only one season. Now, as much as that might be good for the producer because the program is now starting its life cycle, for distribution that's not very good for us because the episodes are too few. So we need to be able to distribute. In fact, we have just as a standard policy to be able to take from 39 episodes on. That's 3 seasons. For 2 reasons. One is for the broadcaster, they want some level of longevity. They can air, if they're airing once a week, they can air this at least for 39 episodes. They can air for, I think, about 3 months. It's not 3 months. It's 4 episodes a month. So that means it can go for half a year. So there's longevity for the broadcaster. And then for ourselves as distributors, and for yourself as a producer,
there seems to be a connection problem. Tony?
we then send you, the producer, our what we call it, a distribution representation contract. So what that means really is it allows us, the distributors, to include your content in our catalog. So it's not a sales contract. It's just a contract between the distributor and yourself, putting us in a relationship that means you now recognize we are distributing on your behalf, and thereby, if you hear somebody hawking your content to different TV channels across Africa, you're well aware who this particular person is. Now, into that contract could be a myriad of things. But the basic contract that we tend to sign is what we call a non-exclusive distribution contract. What that means is Clark and Hampton is not claiming any exclusivity on the distribution process. If you want to work with another distributor, for example, Lucy, who is our moderator here, and others, you're free to do so. If you want to work with Warner Brother distributors, if you want to work with Fox, so on and so forth, you're free to do so. But what it just means is we are one of the ones you'll be able to work with. What that does is, because remember I started off by telling you that because we're a small market, even our distribution companies are not that large. And so if we try to lock you in, our experience is, if we try to lock you in exclusively to ourselves, more often some type of upfront fees, some type of guarantee, the deposit I was talking about. So we find it easier to just work non-exclusively, so that if you want to work with a larger US-based distributors, you feel free. So the contract will have what we call, sorry, I'll just reiterate that it's a non-exclusive distribution contract, though you could have an exclusive one. It will include the license fee. This is the amount of money that perhaps we are looking at getting from broadcasters. Our particular contracts don't have the license fee, but they have a percentage of the share that the producer and the distributor will make. So we'll say, for example, when we make X amount of money from a broadcaster, you, the producer, will get 70%, we, the distributor, will keep 30%. So it puts us in a formal relationship. We all know how much percentage-wise we are expecting. Why we don't put a fee to the contract is because different markets in Africa pay different fees. The smaller the market, the smaller the fee. If I take a typical Kenyan high-end drama or soap to, for example, South Africa, to SABC, we're bound to get perhaps, give or take $2,000 an episode. But if I take the same content to a channel in Botswana, I'll be very hard-pressed to get even $400 from that episode. So we don't put a specific figure. What we do is we just put the share in regards to the percentage you're supposed to make. Now, offline, we will have talked with you, the producer, on what are the kind of generic expectations in regards of the fees. But legally, we will not be able to include that in the contract. I'll just give you a landscape on email, tell you this is what we are expecting. So the other thing that is included in the contract is what we call the offer. The offer would be the territory. Which territory, are we? Sorry, this is the distribution representative contract. Sorry, this is for the broadcast contract. So that puts us in a relationship with each other. Then I'll ask from you. I'll ask things like posters. I'll want trailers. I might want several episodes. Usually, broadcasters would like to watch at least 3 random episodes to be able to see whether the storyline and the production values are met. It tends to be that producers put a lot of emphasis on episode 1, episode 2, but once you're getting to episode 30, episode 40, the quality tends to wane off. So if you have 100 episodes, you'll find they'll want episode 1, episode 25, episode 67. We just want to be able to understand the continuation of quality and storyline. So we call those screeners. So I'll tend to ask you for about 3 episodes worth of screeners. And then the rest of the work is ours. Now that brings us to the third stage, which then is the sales, marketing, and which now the distributor does on the behalf of the producer. Now the producer is not involved on a day-to-day basis at this point in time. What happens is then once we include your content in our catalog, that means the pictures, things like that, and perhaps if I could be able to share right now how our catalog looks like. Just give me a moment to open this. I'll try and share the screen. So, Keshi, please let me know if you can see this. Keshi, Lucy,
no.
are you?
Oh yes, I can see
Okay,
the back
fine.
office. The back office is sorting out the screen. Yeah.
So you can see our catalog here.
Oh yeah, great. We can see it.
Oh, good. Fine.
Yes.
So yeah, so this is how our catalog looks like. Different distributors would have, they'll have used different softwares to try and make this, but this is how ours looks like. And these are some of the shows we represent. So I'll just start at the top. You see, we have a mixture of Kenyan content, Samantha Bridal, Makutano Junction, so on. And then we'll go down to African content where we represent shows like Muvango from SABC, Tales of Eve from Nigeria, Akili and Me from Tanzania, Skim Sam from South Africa too. And then now we divide from there henceforth, we divide them into genres. So for the dramas, we'll just have some nicely looking pictures. And then this is where we put in the short description, the synopsis. So this is so that once somebody reads this, they can understand easily what we're talking about. These are clickable links to the YouTube trailers. One of Tanzania's leading TV dramas, Siri Mtungi.
We seem to have a connection issue, so as we wait for Tony to sort it out.
Okay, so I can hear you very well. I'm not sure. Can you hear my back?
Yeah, you sort of went off at the point where you were showing us the links.
Okay, so yes, so we represent different from different markets. This is a Tanzanian show, Siri Mtungi, one of their famous shows there. So a typical catalog looks like this. So once the distributor signs a distribution representation agreement, we then put your content here, which means we have your permission to sell this content, right? And I think we have this is for TV series. I think we have one for film. So this is how a film one looks like. Films from Kenya, films from Tanzania. So on and so forth. So that's a typical catalog. As I said, different distributors try to do it in a different way, but that's a typical catalog. That's how it looks like. So I was at the stage of this was the third stage telling you about now us publicizing, marketing, selling your content. So we send that catalog to the various broadcasters we work with. Now we might send the whole catalog as it is, or if we are aware of what they are looking for, which we tend to, by virtue of just having an organic relationship with them, they would tell us we're looking for African comedies. So once they let us know that's what they're looking for, we'll cut down our catalog just into comedies. We'll just edit it down and only have a African comedy catalog and send that to that particular broadcaster. So we do that, so on and so forth. So that's what we are engaged. That's the biggest component of a distributor's day-to-day work, is just sending and engaging the broadcasters on this catalog. So we send that maybe 3-4 times every week to different broadcasters across Africa. Then the fourth stage is then the broadcaster would express interest. They would say, hey, we like these 2 comedies here. So they might say, or they might choose a drama like, for example, Makutano Junction. They might say, we're interested in Makutano Junction. Can you please send us the screeners? So what we have done, we try to be very online. So we've already loaded those screeners onto YouTube on a private link. So we would send them that private link. And they would then watch, with their programming team, they would watch those screeners. Then they would come back to us and say, hey, we are interested in this. We are looking for, then they'll give us the offer. The offer is just a short description, say, this is the program we want. This is the territory we're asking for. Territory here meaning usually a country. So again, I'll just use Botswana. So they'll say Botswana. They'll say our offer is $250 an episode. And we want this content to start running from 1st of January. Usually there's some lead time. So now being November, you'll find they give at least 6 weeks lead time for the broadcast dates to handle all the paperwork that needs to be done and the delivery and the previews that they need to do. So usually about 6 weeks lead time. So when I get that offer, I'll pass the offer on to you, the producer, and say, we've received X offer from this particular TV channel. Should we go ahead or should we renegotiate? Now, we primarily will have negotiated before. So experience shows us we'll try and get the best deal even before we make the offer to you, the producer. So by the time they're saying 250, maybe they started at 200 and then it came to $250 an episode. Then we pass that on to you, knowing that that's their best foot forward. Now we do this on email. It's not on phone calls. We do this on email so that we have an acknowledgement from you about the way forward. So let's say you accept the offer. Now, once that offer is accepted, we then sign between myself and the broadcaster. We sign a broadcast contract. Now that puts us in a relationship between myself and the broadcaster. And then I have also, we do this in 2 ways. Either I just use your email acknowledgement as permission to go forward, or I would be signing with you again another contract, now a broadcast contract, saying Makutano Junction, we are paying for this particular offer for this particular program. But most of the time we just use the email acknowledgement saying use this particular offer is good to go. So we would then be signing that contract on behalf of this tripartite relationship we have. Once the contract is signed, there tends to be, we tend to push for some type of deposit. We find that it's good for goodwill and good faith if there's some type of deposit signed. And experience from you, the producers, has told us that it's always best to put some type of money down. So we may ask for about 50%. Usually that's the standard we ask, but it doesn't work in all the cases. If you deal with channels, for example, like Mnet will not pay a deposit, at least to us. They will want to pay 100% of the fees after they've received the material. So you have to be aware that it doesn't always, different companies have different policies, different broadcasters have different ways of working. And a lot of times we have to align ourselves with that, not just with our own individual desires. So yes, so we sign the particular contract, then we invoice for the deposit. Once the deposit comes in, we then forward your part of that fee. As I said, usually it's 70%, we forward that out to you. And once you receive your first payment, you then deliver the content to us. If we've never had the content before. We also keep our own library of content so that if we've handled your content once in some type of sale, we keep a backup. And that's to help you because there are times producers have lost content. Their own drives have crashed and things like that. And when you go to the broadcaster side, the broadcaster says that we aired that program 6 months ago, we deleted that program from our hard drive. So we have found it useful to keep a library just for that kind of emergency situation. But yes, in the event that we already have your content, once we pay you, we'll just send it by DHL to the broadcaster. And then depending on the nature of the contract, we wait for the second slot of invoicing. So usually, again, that is 50% upfront. We then sent 50% of the content. They went and looked at that content. They ingested it into their systems, and they perhaps have commenced broadcasting. We then send them the second invoice for the last 50%. Usually there's a 45-day window there to allow the broadcaster to have a look at the content that has been sent to them. But once that 45-day window is almost coming to an end, say on the 40th day, we'll send the second invoice. They make the payment. We pay you your portion, and then we acquire that the remaining episodes, and we send that to the broadcaster. By and large, that is the system, that is the structure in which it works. Time to time, we receive feedback about viewership, and we pass that on to you. A lot of times, what tends to happen, there's the customer survey side of it, where we send 50 episodes, but for whatever reason, 3 of them are not playing. The file is corrupt. So I'll be coming back to you, the producer, saying, we need you to reformat some of this content, and so on and so forth. But by and large, that is the distribution system according to how Clark and Hampton does it. Would there be any questions, Kesh, Lucy?
Awesome. Wow, that's a great presentation about the whole cycle. Yeah, I'm on Facebook. I can see Sonny Mugambi, Miremben Kubi, Daisy Akal, I see you, Winnie Adisa, Indegu, and Mukoya. We have, they're just saying that this is very timely. And I think maybe, Tony, what you should tell us, I think the conception of their idea, they should start engaging a distribution company so that they know what are the market demands, what are the expectations of the audiences. As we wait for the questions to come on board on Facebook and YouTube, maybe you should also tell us, based on your own experience and the distribution model that you use, which content has more demand in East Africa, in Africa, and outside Africa, so that as people are pitching and also as people are preparing for content, they know what are the expectations of their content.
Okay. So the content that travels, we call it traveling in our industry. Content that travels is dramas and comedies. Those tend to be the two that travel very much. Now, there's cooking shows. These are lifestyle shows. Those you could have, and we sell those. But we found a lot of success with dramas and with comedies. Comedies, especially within East Africa. Organizations such as channels such as Mnet, with their East African channel, Maisha channel, primarily acquiring comedies. But if we go to channels such as Star Times, they'll acquire a combination of dramas and lifestyle content. Now, it depends on the channel, not just the desires necessarily of the producer. It depends on the channel. Is the channel a drama channel? Is it a lifestyle channel? Is it a mixture? Is it a mixed channel? Now, several years ago, we didn't, before the proliferation of all these broadcast channels came in, the digital channels, they would be the free-to-air channels, which is like KTN, NTV, your traditional channels, who would have slots. So you knew the 7:30 slot is a drama. You knew that the 8 o'clock slot is a comedy. And so one was able to try and target those particular slots. And they were a mixture. Those channels would air 4 o'clock, they would air children's programs. 6 o'clock, they would air teen programs. 7, they would do news. 8, they would do more, adult comedies and dramas. Late night, after 9:30, they would do slightly more adult content. Now they could do action, so on and so forth. So you are able to know which slots to go to. But now, with how digital channels have come up on the pay TV channels, on terrestrial, and also on online channels, you're getting channels that are very, very specific. You're getting comedy channels, you're getting drama channels, you're getting sports channels. And so there's just so much now in which one can, so much offering that is out there. So one can be able to target this a bit better. So yes, it is of value. It is of value to talk to a distributor earlier. And I would be saying more for, we may not necessarily be coming in to offer you some type of deal while in pre-production. But our guidance to you at pre-production will make your content have more value at post-production. Once not post-production, post-airing. Once you've aired with your primary broadcaster, at that point in time, your content will have more value. One, you need to have what we call travelability. In Kenya, we have a program called Churchill. It's a phenomenal comedy show. It's a huge movement actually in Kenya. But from a travelability, it doesn't have that because the jokes are very Kenyan centric. So that they're making fun of a preacher here, they're making fun of a politician here, they're making fun of a recent occurrence on the news, so on and so forth. So from a travelability, you find such a program can't travel to, I keep using Botswana, to Zambia, so on and so forth, because they will not be able to comprehend what the jokes are about. Now, that could be strategic. They could have decided to do that, and more power to them because it has worked for them locally. But if you are doing a comedy today and you were discussing, I would at least then give you the guidance to tell you, as you craft your storyline, you need to craft a storyline that can travel all through Africa. So that once you're done with producing it, then distributors have something of value. It's an asset which they can take to other channels. When you talk local languages, for example, a language like Sheng, which is Kenya's Swahili street lingo, and it's always growing, it's always changing, it's very amorphous. It's so amorphous to the extent you know Sheng in Nairobi might not be the Sheng in Mombasa. So imagine taking that program to Tanzania, and you're trying to penetrate that the language barrier with that. You'll not be able to. So we'll come and give you that guidance at the onset. So it might not be we might not be able to put any money down, but we might be coming and telling you how you can add value to your production before you commence, before you get into it. I would also like to touch on audio dubbing of content and the use of various languages. We are seeing an uptick within the last year of content that is audio dubbed going into foreign markets. So for the first 3 to 5 years of my business, we launched in 2012. We only sold to what we call the Anglophone side of Africa, the English-speaking side. South Africa, Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, so on and so forth. But half of Africa is Francophone, where they speak French as one of their 2 national languages. So we figured we can try to duplicate our sales by audio dubbing some of that content into African French. There's French and there's African French. And so how we did it is we partnered with producers to be able just to come alongside them as some type of investors. And what we did is we didn't audio dub full seasons, we audio dubbed screeners. So to take the first 3 episodes or even 1 episode and completely audio dub that in a new language. So we've managed right now to do screeners in African French, in Yoruba, in vernacular dialects within countries, for example, in Kikuyu in Kenya, Kalenjin here in Kenya, so on and so forth. I think there are 2 more languages in Nigeria in which, apart from Yoruba, Igbo. We've done Igbo also on particular dramas. And what that has done is we then use that as the sales product to say, here is a Kenyan program in Yoruba. Would you be interested in it? And if then they say, yes, they're interested in it, we then say, fine, the license fee is $500 plus X amount for audio dubbing each particular episode. And that again is negotiable, but you'd find that perhaps we would be charging, give or take, 40,000 shillings or 50,000 shillings, Kenyan shillings, an episode for the audio dubbing. And that would be what? Is that another 500? That would be another $500. So we'd tell you, so we'd be saying this to the broadcaster that For $1,000, you get the license and you get the program in your local dialect. What that does for you, so you, the producer, this is now the guidance we'll be giving to you. When you edit your content, you need to do what we call an M&E mix, a music and effects mix. What that is as you're editing your content, you have your plenty of audio tracks, but you need to have one audio track where all the dialogue is. So whatever language it is, all of it on one particular channel. So let's say that is channel 1. And then channel 2 is where you have your music and effects. So if you've done any audio post-production, you have doors banging, you've put in new sound effects to be able to add the quality of your production. You need to put those on a separate channel. Don't mix those two channels. And then save the final copy as with those two tracks separate. So whether you're going to save on tape, whether you're going to save on some digital master, you need to have those two tracks completely separate. What that helps in is when you get, or we get for you, an audio dub client, we shall put the new dialogue on the dialogue track, but we shall use the same music and effects track that you had already produced, so that we don't have to create music and effects again, which will cost more money. So if we had said it's 50,000 shillings to produce an audio dub track, if you put in, if the studio has to create new music and effects, you'll find that comes to perhaps twice the price. And since you, the producer, you had the vision for the production, we are believing that the music and effects has been well chosen, is well balanced. So we'll put the new dialogue on and overlay it on the dialogue track, but we'll keep the music and effects intact as is. That way, you're able to get more opportunities for your program to travel. So you may have produced your program in whichever language, even a local dialect language, but now by saving it in that format, you're not constrained in audio dubbing it into a new language.
Okay.
So those are the two things we would be, pieces of advice we'd be sharing with you. Can't hear you very well, but I can see there's a bit of activity.
Awesome.
Okay,
Wow.
I can hear you.
I think. Oh, great. I see we have a few minutes to go, and we have Winnie. Oh,
okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're clear, Lucy.
Okay, great. So I'm saying we have a question from Winnie Adisa on Facebook. She's asking, I think you've tackled this, but she's asking, at what point do you engage a distributor? Is it before or after production? I think maybe you can just answer that briefly because you talked about it. And then Sony has asked, apart from lifestyle shows and family dynasty dramas, how favorable is your distribution network to non-mainstream type of content, like say a procedural series?
Okay, good. So I'll answer the first one from Winnie. Yes, it's best to engage a distributor from the beginning. From what I spoke earlier, it might not be an official engagement. It could be just informal for you to get the distributor's thoughts on, and share the script, share your vision on what you're about to produce, get his or her thoughts down.
Tony, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. So get his or her thoughts down before production. That's always best. So it's always best to get the distributor early. You may not sign anything at that point in time, but get to hear their thoughts so that whatever you're producing has travelability. For Sony,
go ahead.
Yes, for Sony, I'd say we're not limited. A distributor is like a supermarket. You can buy hammers, you can buy soda, you can buy flour. So for us, we don't necessarily sell a specific genre. Ours is to sell this content out to broadcasters. But yes, we're able to guide you, tell you what are the favorable genres in regards of sales, in regards of travelability. As I said, it tends to be dramas, it tends to be comedies. I would add lifestyle shows as a third one. I'm not sure what you mean by procedural. Are you meaning like doctors doing a procedure, things like that? If that's the case, I'm not saying there's no market for that, but the travelability angle is what's going to, what you really need to think about. How many of those channels are out there that would even be taking this content? You may have one, you may have two, but do you only want to try and market to 2 channels, or do you want to make content that can be hopefully marketed to 10 channels, 20 channels?
Oh, great. I don't see any other questions, but wow, that was a great presentation you did. And just to recap, I think we've tackled the whole life cycle of distribution, from the point where a producer contacts a distributor
Okay, I think she can hear me, but let's give her a minute.
Tony, thank you so much. I think Lucy has she'll be coming back, I think, shortly. I think it's just network issues. But thank you so much.
Yeah.
If anyone has a question, we'll be glad to have them shared with Tony. Yeah.
I'd answered 2 questions. She said there was no more, but in case there's any more, we can take 1 or 2.
Okay, you have answered the one of what if you create a film purely for festivals? That one is answered, yeah?
No, I didn't hear that one. If you create a film,
like what if you create a film purely for festivals and I need a distributor to help distribute your films to those festivals, especially in the international space, what does a distributor need?
Okay. Particularly, we've not done the festival circuit ourselves, but I would say that I believe the reason one is doing for festivals is you're not looking at audiences here in regards of end users. There is another agenda you have, which is perhaps you're trying to raise capital, which is perhaps you're trying to raise your profile as a producer, as a production business, and what that tends to be, from my experience, producers tend to do that themselves directly. You get to, because festivals accept content, so it's not something so much about pitching the content. You have to pitch it, but that tends to be a situation where the producer tends to send this to festivals themselves. And why that would be the case also is because there's no commercial model behind it. So some distributors might not be as easy to, they might not be as easily convinced to be able to send things to festivals. Now, there are film distributors. We do television and film, and as I said, we primarily do television, but there are film distributors, and they may work with you on film festivals. But as I said, film festivals, it tends to be the producer who does this like themselves, because they're trying to raise their own profile for purposes of raising funds, perhaps, for that particular film.
Okay, Lucy's back. So
So hi, yes, Lucy, I took the film festival question. I don't know.
Okay, yeah. So thank you. So, I can't see any other questions, but well, thank you so much, Tony. I think our session is about to be over because we have other sessions lined up. So probably people may want to hear more from you on a one-on-one basis, just to know more about your company and how they can engage you. So maybe with the help of Zippy, they can post maybe your company details and maybe the contacts of how they can reach you. So maybe Tony, you can give a parting shot and maybe tips to filmmakers about distribution and how to approach it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it has been a bit tough and might continue being a little tough for especially for film producers, because in Kenya there isn't enough momentum yet on film viewership, because film viewership tends to be a cinema experience. Right now we're having films going onto television, which doesn't pay as much as in regards of return on investment. But that said, it's just a matter of time as producers keep producing better quality and better storylines, especially. I don't think quality is so much the problem. I think it's just better storylines. Then audiences will feel more and more interested in doing so. Africa is primarily a television market, aside from West Africa. And so television production is also something interesting to think about. There tends to be a little more money flowing in that area. So I would advise those who are there to also consider getting into television production and not just exclusively film production.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Tony. And for the audience, thanks for tuning in. We have more lined up today and tomorrow. So we are taking a short break of about 5 to 10 minutes. And then we'll have Heta James, who is also a content distributor. She's the country manager of Africa XP. So she'll be sharing more about also distribution. So we have a lot to learn about different companies and how they do their distribution. So yeah, stay on the channel. You can watch through Facebook and YouTube. Thank you so much, Tony, also, and looking forward to engage you in the near future. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for joining in.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into that session. The session is still going on after this break, and we are going to be having Heta James in session. Today, we are having the 4 distributors talking to us about their work. And then we will also be having the panel discussion in the afternoon at 4 p.m. We also have private screenings going on privately. You can check our Facebook page for the link for that. And yes, it's going to be an engaging. So today and tomorrow morning, we are getting to know all the distributors that we know in Africa, at least 50% of them, to help you make that important choice. So stay tuned here, and we'll just share how the festival has been over the years. Maybe you can also look at our previous films, our previous events, the gala and the training.
How fast were you able to see that film on other platforms after it was released?
When you're making this deal, you need to be really aware of how they're going to affect your sales down the line.
They talk about local or domestic and then international.
Distribution and marketing is an entirely difficult field. And the first thing I've learned is that I have to get a sales agent at development of my film, and that is something that I'm going to do right now.
I think the biggest mistake we have done, we've never taken film just as a serious business on its own.
There's no way you're going to do film and you're not known and you're not making money, then you're not doing business.
So understanding how the film industry or the film business work makes it easier to craft stories that can sell and reach audiences that are able to pay.
What do you think can make a cinematic film look like look way better in terms of post-production.
Cinematography, I've learned a lot. It's so fun. We've been able to learn a number of things that we wouldn't have learned if we wouldn't have come.
Lipff Festival is taking it to the next level, and 2019 is hotter than hottest.
Our theme is art for social change.
There's a waking up of Africa.
We will appreciate the training you'll give to our youth, so that they know their rights, they know what they can do, so that they know what they cannot do as well. The only way this industry can grow is when we really come together and focus on developing the industry. So I do hope for all of you that you will get more support every year for continuing your incredible work. Best feature film.
Last days, Nigeria.
Nigeria people, hey! What's on your mind? Bahari yetu Tanzania.
Sipi Chada.
Kizito Samuel Obile Uganda. Isolated Kenya.
Kenyatta University, Perfect Mess.
Student feature film goes to Gigi Kenya.
The parents in the house.
It's a learning process, and we really appreciate
the training and the workshop on cinematography has opened my eyes into so many other things that I did not know.
Corporate world is getting interest in the creative economy.
Africa is rising, and the Lipff film is a good opportunity to also empower young Africans to talk about conservation matters.
Wakati mwingine ni vizuri sana kuwafikiria walengwa na kuwapa kila kitu ambacho kweli wanakihitaji kukipata.
Collaborate and tell those stories.
It always means a lot, when it comes to our story, the African story.
Are we enjoying Nakuru?
It feels really nice to be here.
I just feel like everything is just amazing.
It has been amazing. I love every single bit of the festival. The hospitality of the people in Kenya has been, superb.
The Lake International Pan-African Film Festival has grown beyond us who founded it. And right now we are welcoming a lot of people to come in and partner with us. The Nakuru County government, we want them to work with us to make Nakuru and the Lipff Festival a tourist attraction event in this country.
Good night, Nagambula in my language.
It's been exciting, and tonight we're crowning the best of the best.
We're going to be crowning the best of the best, and I'm looking forward to seeing who that will be.
Like the reception, actually the red carpet and everything, and the cocktail was so nice.
Our main reason to participate in this is part of our capacity building initiative, where we give back to the film industry.
I think this event is going to help us build the film industry.
We have this gala here tonight. We want to come up with the best actors and the promoters who could be able to promote this country to another level.
This year, as opposed to last year, we decided to include other categories like feature films, then we had short films, and we had documentaries, and we had animation.
I'm so proud to be part and parcel of this activity, because one thing that I've discovered is that art is there for social change.
all people who are involved in the movie making, from producers, directors, the actors themselves. I think this is a higher kind of category than what happened last year.
Thank you so much, Lipff Festival.
It's really exciting to be nominated.
Very, very happy. It's very exciting to hear these awards.
Here is the award for the best cinematographer.
This year, 2017, wow! We're looking forward for next year.
Thank you guys for coming. Next year, we hope to see you there. Let us tell our African stories in our African languages, in the African way. This is the festival for you.
See you next year for the next Lake International Film Festival.
Thank you so much. That's the journey of the Lipff Festival since 2016 in Kisumu, 2017 Kisumu, 2018 and 2019 in Nakuru. And we are so excited to be where we are. This year is the 5th edition, and we can't wait to be on the 10th edition. Yeah, so as we wait for our next speakers, I just want you to maybe have a look at some of our products as Legacy Arts and Film Lab. But this session has been sponsored, and this festival, the 5th edition, has been sponsored by the Kenya Film Commission, the French Embassy, and Amnesty Kenya International. We also have got RFI, Talanta Institute, and the Kenya National Theatre, who have sponsored this year's events. And our team, we would also like to thank our team for this session and this edition, for always being there with us. We have Suki Wanza, the Lipff Festival Coordinator. We have Vigilance Atieno, the Festival Manager. We have got Tabu Melita, Ngobia Benson, and Nicholas Adongo in the technical team. And I just want to say we have kept it together, and we shall continue keeping it together to bring for you the Lipff Festival. Lucy Muthui is here. We are waiting for our next speaker, Heta James, and then we will just be excited to start the next
Hi everyone, we are waiting for Heta James.
Hi Lucy.
Hi Heta, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right, yeah, we are live, and as we introduced earlier, this is a session where we get people who are our content distributors based here in Kenya and in Africa. So Heta is one of our big distributors based here in Kenya. So Heta, I think this session, as I mentioned earlier, is just for us to get to know distributors in depth, how you run your business, how do you reach out to your producers. So I think I'll give you the floor first to introduce yourself, and then you can ask what Africa XP is all about for those probably who've never heard about Africa XP. And then now I believe you have a small presentation for us where you'll take us through how you do your distribution, how do you reach out to producers, what stage of production or content making do they reach out to you? That we take you to represent our content outside the market, and also we don't also hear from you which are bets that our content is well received according to your company's portfolio. And maybe you can also show us maybe a sample of a sample catalog of some of the content that you represent from Kenya. And I think also very importantly, when you're describing the business model you use, people want to know how much money does a certain genre of pet in probably an estimate price, and who are the people who buy a lot from us. So yeah, the floor is yours, Heta. We are glad to have you, and yeah.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Thank you also, Dr. Zippy, for giving us an opportunity to showcase what we do as Africa XP. I think there's still a lot to be learned about distributors in the Kenyan and African market, because till date, producers and rights owners still struggle finding distributors in the market, and someone who will represent their content and help them get returns of investment in their business as content creators. So I've worked for Africa XP for 2.5 years now, and it has been a great journey for me. And they've also taken me to places, and they've expanded my knowledge in terms of films. Before, when I got into Africa XP, I did not know much about films, and not so much about films, and getting a good training from Africa XP, being in the business for more than 20 years has been a great journey for me. And every day is a learning step, even if we're working in the distribution industry, because we've seen how distribution and acquisition trends have changed over the past few years. With a lot of online streamings coming up, with the rise of multiple entertainment options coming up. So we've seen the trend, and one of the things that Africa XP has been doing, apart from being distributors, we've also been a broadcaster, and we're trying to go trend, and we're trying to bridge the gap in between the rights owners, the platforms themselves, and creating that synergy that can easily be represented well from both parties. So I'd like to share like a brief of my screen. Okay. Lucy, are you able to see my screen? Lucy?
Could you share it again, Heta? The back office should sort it out.
Can you?
Yes, it's loading now.
Can you see my screen now?
It's loading on my end, so yes, I can see it. Go ahead.
Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, we have over 20 years experience and expertise in African broadcast in the fields of production and production development. We have a very well equipped studios in South Africa that does a lot of production and production
Heta, go ahead, yeah.
development with a very able team. And we do content acquisition and distribution. We do broadcast management and consulting. This might be from someone who wants to get into broadcast management or someone who wants to make good returns in their broadcasts management, in their broadcast, already existing broadcasts. We do channel design and development and also do playout system. We have a very techy and very new technology that we use in channel design, development, and playout system. And we also do channel signal and distribution through our partnerships with satellite companies in Africa. So we've been operating since 2012 as content distributors and TV channel creators, and we have built a very strong reputation for being able to deliver high quality pay TV specifications, TV channels, and customized for the African viewers at a very low costs. And over the years, we've seen we have been unable to scale the business and leverage the value that the market offers, because depending on multi-channel broadcasters, we have mostly who are mostly going bankrupt in a few years, and then at the end we also run out of great business deals. So we saw that it's best for us to shift our focus and for us to shift to also shift our business model into some of the few things that we've been able to put up with, like shifted from selling content and channels as revenue source to seeing advertising as the primary revenue source. We've seen a lot of platforms in the US making a lot of money at the end of the month through this inserting ads on the OTT platforms. And we've seen channels in the US that are ad funded and OTT platforms that can make over $100,000 per month, which is a very good amount of money to get at the end of the month from your content. And what it does is they insert advertisement into the content, and when people watch it and they see the advertisement, the revenue is shared between the parties and good returns are made. With having $100,000 per month is quite much, and especially if you're also in a non-exclusive deal, then it means you're making a lot of returns and maximizing on the revenue streams from every end of where your content has been placed on these platforms. So we are doing our best to bring that kind of model into Africa, and we've started this with Kenya being part of it, with some of our clients in Kenya, Namibia, Botswana, South Africa, and Nigeria, Ghana, and we've seen it growing, and we are still pushing for it to grow further. We are now also supplying content to broadcasters at no cash as means of us delivering ads. As I mentioned earlier, that there's a rise of streaming platforms using the internet to reach viewers globally, and they get this valuable insight into audience behavior, and its effect is that it has overturned the traditional ways of acquisition and distribution. And the explosion of these multiple entertainment platforms is that you find there's a lot of diminishing in acquisition budgets when it comes to traditional linear TVs, and there's also decrease in value of deals in terms of distributing to traditional linear TV. But as distributors, the shift that we've made is the upside of this is that there's also high value exclusive deals and multiple non-exclusive deals, and in various territories. So maximizing also on the revenue streams is quite important for a distributor to be able to do so. The other one is we have launched premium free channels, our own broadcast platform, to ensure a stable content and ad delivery pipeline. And with this advertisement, because I've mentioned more about advertisement, this advertisement is done by our own media sales company called AdNet Media, a very able team that are pushing most of our products in the market, and they're doing a lot of market research and audience research, and they're using great technology to get us numbers on the viewers who are watching our platforms and how our platforms are doing in various markets that I'll touch on in a few. So these are some of the content and channel partners we have. We have Bamba in Kenya, we have Satellite, Eutelsat on 2 of their satellites. One E16A that is a French feed for Francophone Africa, and we have the English feed for E7B that is covering the whole of sub-Saharan Africa. We had Kwese, Zuku in television in Seychelles, Azam, and the list goes on and on, but these are just mentioned but a few. We have Viacom, Trigger, MultiChoice in South Africa, and our very own premium free. And we've also launched our own Africa XP, trying to get the African stories to diaspora. And some of the people we've been working with, we have platforms like Sumo, MultiChoice, we have Distro, Intelsat, and in North America, USA, Canada, Mexico. So our main focus in this in the diaspora market is ad insertion in content, and we're still trying to penetrate that market, and we are hoping that we will have a strong foothold. Hisense TV. This is for our OTT platform that will from our channels that will be available on Hisense TVs very soon, and other OTT platforms that we've been able to do in Africa is MTN, Airtel, and NetGem in the UK, China Mobile China, Sky UK, Newcom, and the likes, to mention but a few. These are some of the channels we offer on our platform. We have Gospel Live, Trigger, which I can, on this part where I can show you some of the content we have. True African is basically 100% African content, and series, dramas, or music. And then we have Afriwood series. This one is 100% also African, just series. We have Bongo TV. These are some of the localization we've been able to do. This is 100% Tanzania content. We have Afriwood, Blockbuster, that's African movies only from all over Africa. We have Riverwood, which we barely have content for, and we're in Kenya, and hopefully we can change how things are done and how distribution has been perceived in Kenya, with how I've seen producers being stuck in the old models where they were just expecting to have licensed their content on minimum guarantees or on a flat fee with exclusivity, and which is not something I would recommend as a distributor. As of now, we need to see producers as entrepreneurs in the market and thinking of ways how they can maximize on the revenue streams that are there the market has provided. So it's also for a producer to be open-minded in terms of how they want their content to be represented and how they wish their content to travel. So as more platforms are there, the more content we need for these platforms and for our viewers. We have Trigger, which is a male-skewed channel that has a lot of movies, some live MMA. We have Pulse, which is more for youth, kind of fun, hype, music, some music discussions, celebrity gossips. We have Fresh, which is female skewed with a lot of cooking shows, travel shows, beauty and health content. We have Romanza Plus Africa, which is available in Kenya on Bamba TV and now on Eutelsat, the whole of Sub-Saharan Africa, which is basically just 100% telenovelas. We have Passion, one of the channels that we sell to pay TV platforms, which is also a telenovela. We have Limelight, which is Hollywood movies, 100% international content. We have LOL Africa, a mix of African and international content, comedy. We have Kiddie Winks, which is a kids channel. We have Treehouse, which is a pre-teen kids channel. We have Sports, which is we have a lot of motorsports, basketball, football, fight nights, and live TV, which is a factual, more of documentary, human interests, environmental interests, science and technology inventions. We have Fight Night, which is basically martial arts, kickboxing, boxing, and we have Gospel Life, which is a Christian TV channel. These are some also of other localizations we've done in West Africa, Cinema Hausa, which is content in Hausa and Yoruba. And we've also done localization success stories that we've done for pay TV platforms. It's like Cinema Zetu on Azam, which is still doing very well. And we have Via and Mojolove in multi-choice South Africa. And yeah, so mostly the DNA that we have as Africa XP is we offer owners a single gateway into the fragmented African market. And we also offer broadcaster a single gateway to almost any content at bulk prices that are lower than buying direct. And we've seen a lot of broadcasters focusing the same, approaching us with the same interest of buying content at a bulk. Our model also makes content and channels customizable and affordable for broadcasters. That means we can never run out of business or any platforms to place your content onto. Our model also content distribution in Africa had made it very profitable for right owners and even at a lower prices because of our non-exclusive deal kind of model and our focus on advertisement and our focus on maximizing on and taking advantage and leveraging the revenue streams. We offer 25 themed linear channels, as you've seen from my previous slide, and they're 24/7 thematic feeds ranging from kids, lifestyle, factual, comedy, sports, telenovelas, and also especially indigenous African content into different African languages. We're still doing the same. We're still trying to also focus on that as we go on, because the footprint that we are on is quite huge, and we need to create some of localized indigenous African languages. Traditionally, there's demand for sports, telenovelas, and African movies in the market. There's also an increase of demand in lifestyle and reality content on both Africa, in both Africa itself and in strong African diaspora markets like the UK, France, and USA. We've seen a lot of content also coming in from these countries, and they're Africans making content for Africans. And we're very proud that we have a strong African diaspora market in diaspora. There is also a strong demand for well-balanced mixed channel bouquets from digital terrestrial to satellite to OTT platforms in particular. So there's a lot of need and demand for content cutting across all genres as of now. And at first, we depended on mostly the third parties, broadcasters, and guaranteed distribution of its own channels in Africa. So Africa XP launched the unencrypted 100% free to view 23 channels, pay TV quality bouquet on satellite covering the whole of sub-Saharan Africa. And the service is expanding, and these channels will now be available across of sub-Saharan with stronghold in southern, east, and west of Africa, and the francophone side of it, of Africa. And it's easy. Viewers can just tune in from any universal set-top box and dishes, and then they can be able to stream our content, to get our premium free channels. So the premium free channels are also going to be available for OTT, and making it easy for us to also maximize on content, on revenue streams in terms of advertisement insertion. And the different satellites that we're on, we used to be on Astra 2G, but we shifted because we needed capacity to add more TV channels. And we shifted to Eutelsat 7B, that is English. And we have the 16A, Eutelsat 16A. And we have the southern part of Africa, Intelsat IS-20, that has a very strong foothold and a lot of households looking at that satellite by next year, the first quarter of next year. Together, this will give us a full coverage of sub-Saharan African satellite with the best neighborhoods. Additional thematic and vernacular language channels are being added to these bouquets. As I mentioned, that we are doing a lot of localizations in the countries that we are available in. Thank you. That's much I can share about us. Maybe I can run, if time allows, I can run a little bit of our content, of how our channels look like, and what kind of content is in our channels. So this is True African. Have series. This is a telenovela channel. Called Passion. Then we have the Hollywood. So I'll try to just rush it in because I see it's a 10-minute video. This is Pulse, very hype, young millennial channel. Mind you, these channels are available for free to air. This is Trigger, a male skewed channel. Afriwood Blockbuster, a mix of African content. LOL, a comedy channel. It has a mixture of both African and international. And this is a lifestyle, fresh, that is more female skewed. Travel show, cultural shows, food. Dating shows, sports. You have a mix of triathlons, diathlons, obstacle racing, motorsports. And this is more factual. I'm just trying to romanza. Basically just telenovelas, especially the classic telenovelas, which are still on high demand in Africa. This is Bongo TV, Tanzanian. Afriwood series. This is Riverwood. You have Kiddie Wings, kids. Gospel Life, a Christian channel. So basically, that's some of the channel promos we have, and they are all available on Eutelsat 7B, available in Kenya and the whole of Sub-Saharan. Just a small promo I can share about these channels. Yeah, so that's what we have. As Africa XP, all the channels that I've just shown are all available on Eutelsat 7B, free to air, with no monthly payments. You just need your satellite, a universal satellite, and a decoder, a satellite decoder, to be able to get these channels. Hand it over to you, Lucy, now, for any questions you may have. Mind you, all these channels are available for free, and they all need African content. And we hope to have a lot of African content giving, because we're viewing it as producers and right owners as our shareholders of these channels, and also as our partners in this big project. Over to you, Lucy. Lucy?
Okay,
we can't hear you.
We can't hear
We can't
Lucy.
hear you.
So, but so Heta, there's a question for you anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, like Favor Media is asking, how much can you make if you produced a series? Yeah, how much can you make if you produce a series and licensed it to Africa XP? Do we get 100 for all the shows? My concern is 100. I think it's $100 right there. Won't be enough to pay crew and cast.
So different territories, different markets have their own kind of budget. What we do, we first find out from our clients how much kind of budget they can afford to buy content. And then from there, we work around that kind of budget, and having the content in-house, we know and how much a content can cost and how much we can leverage it. And we always push for non-exclusive deals when it comes to selling this content, so that we can maximize on multiple territories in Africa and also diaspora market. So it depends whether the broadcaster is a big broadcaster or a small broadcaster, whether it's a startup broadcaster or a broadcaster that has already been in business. We try our best, we cut our teeth to try and find out many ways we can maximize on this content. So I can't say a different market will offer us different kind of budget. So we can't put a definite price on content without knowing who we are offering the content to. But mostly content ranges, it depends with the content itself and the quality of the content itself. So the range can be from as as low as $200 per episode to as high as $2,000 per episode. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Let me test if Lucy is. Hi, Lucy. I think she's still testing. Yeah. You have shown us quite a lot of work, but the Kenyan content.
Yeah. Yes, we barely have Kenyan content on our platform, and that's a very big challenge.
Where is the Kenyan content? Why?
That's the same question I ask myself, but I've seen a lot of Kenyan content on YouTube, which I would say it depends with how people perceive the platforms that are available for them, as it's the same thing as the way YouTube are using advertisement and funding from advertisement. It's the same thing what you're trying to do as Africa XP, getting that content onto our platforms and try as much as possible to leverage on advertisement. We have a white label kind of product that offers free-to-air TVs that already have an existing number of viewers. So they have the numbers that can entice advertisers. They also have advertisement already in their channels. So we try our best to offer them like a bouquet of different kind of genres in their programming. We try to also assess their competitors in the market through our market research and see how can they compete with these other platforms in the market. And to do that, we need good quality content to be able to offer people like KTN or Citizen or NTV or K24 such kind of a bouquet of content in their programming for them to be able to compete against each other. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I hope the Kenyan producers are ready to look for you.
Yes. And I'll be here waiting.
But maybe you need to clarify. You take like how do you call it? Like premier content or content that at least has gone to other platforms, since the issue of exclusive or non-exclusive. Yeah. If you can clarify more on that.
Yeah, we are not focused on just taking premium content or content that has already been launched, unless it's something that we want from a client needs from us, and they tell us they need a content of this kind. So if we've seen how content has been placed on platforms, or we know specific producers that have done certain content, certain types of content, that's when we do like a direct approach to certain rights owners, and we ask them, we need this kind of content to offer to this kind of to this platform. And basically we just find any type of content we get it. The like of Romanza is a telenovela channel. It has classic, very, very old telenovelas that people are still talking about in the market. So you see, it's sort of like timeless kind of telenovelas. We have content that has already been aired in other platforms in the territories that you're in, but viewers are still yearning to have to watch again this kind of content. And that's all comes down to having the best content, putting the best content on these platforms for them to be endlessly, continuously making money. Even in 5 years time, they're still making more money for the rights owners.
All right. Lucy, can we hit? Hi, Lucy. Oh, we still can't hear you.
We still can't hear you.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone has got another question. Okay, Favor is still asking, would you advise filmmakers to shoot content first or to approach Africa XP first with regards to ideas we have?
Well, it's important to know first what is on demand in the market, so that you don't go and make you make content and then you shelf it because you don't have a buyer or a platform to place your content on. So it's quite important to first find out what the market needs, and also it's also important to also know the kind of audience you want to reach as a content creative.
Okay.
And also, just to add, Dr. Zippy, is you need to have a very good marketing material to represent your content, because we need to know about your content. Most of the acquisitions we do is you find you have a lot of content coming in, and you need to see how you can place this content on different platforms and be ready with that content whenever a client needs that content. With the rise of these streaming services, content has to be very ready for a distributor to be able to represent that content. So you find producers, they make good content, but they've not made trailers. They don't have stills. They don't have a poster, a nice, attractive poster. A lot of marketing materials is needed when it comes to distribution, because the distributor's work is now to represent your content to film markets, to represent your content to their clients, and they need such good marketing materials to help them back up these deals.
All right. Thank you. I don't know if there's any more. If there's no further questions, I don't know if Lucy is nearby to come and summarize the show.
I know Lucy might have some questions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Lucy.
Yes. My apologies for the.
Now we can hear you.
Technical hitch.
Yeah. Okay, that's okay. That's why we are here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, you can proceed with your question.
So I think. Heta has done a detailed. Yes. I'm just trying to sort questions that I may want to hear, but you've answered about why you're also looking for local content. And maybe you can tell us which you've said the genres of content that are more on demand in this part of the world. But there's someone who asked me, do distributors also fund for content production? By funding, it could be commissioning productions or pre-sale deals. Do you go into those kinds of deals with the producers?
Well, that depends. We get clients. Rarely get clients that are out to commission content, and they tell us that they have this certain kind of budget. So that's when we do individual. We know the producers we work with, we know the rights owners we work with. So we approach these producers personally, and we ask them if we can create something for the clients and what the clients need. So that usually happens, but it's very rare for it to happen. So yes, we do also, not as distributor commissioning. We don't commission content, but when we get clients who want to commission content, that's when we can reach out to producers and ask how we can work together.
Okay, so you as a distribution company, do you also produce content in-house, or do you just buy ready-to-air content from content providers?
So we do both as Africa XP, because we have our studios available in South Africa, very equipped studios that we also rent out to producers in South Africa. We want, with our focus coming into this Eastern and West Africa and all that, I know in a few years to come, with the demand of the demand of the content, we are going to create such where we are going to be also doing a lot of content creation for ourselves in-house, because we already know what's on demand, and I know it's quite easy also to find content from producers. That's something we're also flexible to do. as Africa XP. But that's something in the future that we're going to create. Currently, we're just doing studios, but I know in the future we're going to create even feature films. It depends with the demand in the market.
Okay, so what content are you looking for at this time for your channels? Because I've seen you have a whole bouquet of channels that you're creating. Are you looking for content for those channels, or are you looking for content to distribute on behalf of producers? And which kinds of content are you looking for?
Yeah, so we are looking for our channels cut across kids, lifestyle, all this content, but we are looking for content for both sides, for distribution and also for our own platforms. So basically, mostly African. We need more of African content from on our side, especially lifestyle, travel, which is a little bit lacking in the African market when it comes to lifestyle and travel shows. And drama series, we've seen Africa, especially South Africa and Nigeria market going big, and Ghana market going big on dramas. We need to see a lot of that in also Tanzanians are doing a great job in drama, creating a lot of dramas. We need to see a lot of that also in Kenya. So we are basically looking for drama series, lifestyle shows, African shows, even animation. I've seen how animation has really grown in Kenya, and having this kind of market where animation is quite on demand, then we need also animation for our kids' channels.
Okay, great. I think we'll wrap this up. That was a really, really intense and well-detailed presentation. And I think I've learned a lot about the technical bits of how you run and all the kinds of bouquets and the genres of content you have. So maybe through the back office, you'll share your contacts, so that, because I know some filmmakers would like to reach out to you to know more about how they can tend and be considered for acquisition. So maybe to wrap this up, you can tell us when you're acquiring your content, do you pay for the content? Maybe a guarantee? Do you negotiate for revenue share? Do you pay a flat fee? Which kind of business model do you use?
So the kind of business model we use is on revenue share basis, because we do a lot of ad-funded projects as one of premium free channels, being one of the projects we do for advertisement. And we're also trying to bring in the white label kind of channel to the free-to-air TV channels that we've partnered with, where we provide content in exchange for advertisement. And we're trying to leverage that kind of market that Africa has created so far with advertisement coming up at a high rate, with big advertisement like Coca-Cola, Samsung, Techno, doing a lot of projects and advertisement in Africa. So we're trying to leverage that market, because we've seen over the years that Africa would still continue to be a free market TV. We've seen the numbers that we've had in West Africa through the satellite. And so we're trying to do our best to do a no-risk business that is with high returns.
Okay, great. Maybe you can do final parting shots, just maybe tips to filmmakers on what you'd advise them in terms of how to better their chances of getting a good distributor, and what is expected of them. Like what type? I know you've described the marketing materials and tools that filmmakers to have when they are coming to pitch to you. So probably just package to them what as a distributor you expect from them when they are coming to pitch to you.
So since we're all Africans and sometimes we need to localize our content, is that we need a lot of African stories being told. We need to have we need to make stories that can travel, because now you see we have a lot of streaming platforms and we have a lot of Africans in the diaspora market. We're even also creating African stories in the diaspora market, and they're trying. We need to make stories that can travel, stories that can relate, stories that are open to engagement in any kind of market. We need stories that are well represented. When we are also representing them, we're representing them the best way we can. And one of the things, how can you present your story well, how can you present your product well, is first of all, seeing yourself as a producer, as an entrepreneur. You need to know what the market needs to offer. You just don't need to go on an exclusive deal that binds you maybe for more than 3 years, for more than 2 years, and for a fee of maybe $100,000 for that period, a flat fee, or more than that. It depends with the platform you're selling your content to. We don't need that. You need to be flexible enough to give your content readily to any platform that is available outside there. You need to leverage what the market is giving you, and for you to receive what the market has to offer. You need to also understand your audience. You need to be able to package your stories and your content well enough for people to be able to accept it. You need to, when even after selling, you need to show, because I've seen a lot, I've not seen it in Africa, but I'm hoping that we can have such in Africa, where a producer gives you his or her content that has already run, and they have a matrix of how the content performed in the platforms they've sold their content to. So I think it's also very important when you sell your content to other platforms, they should also try and help you, provide you with audience ratings, so that you know what is expected of you on your next project. So that's very important to also try to acquire the knowledge. Be an entrepreneur, be a business person. Don't just think of just licensing your content at a minimum guarantee for a period of short time. See how you can leverage other multiple low price streams that can amount to a substantial income for you, and also return a lot of investment to you. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Heta. We've learned so much from you, and we look forward to engaging with you. So I think I don't need questions from the social media platform, but I think if people need to engage you, they can reach you directly. And thank you so much for being part of this conference. And we have one more speaker coming up, so we'll take a short break, and then we'll be back to Wilmot. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Heta. As we wait for our next speaker, I think we will take a short break so that we just remind you of a Lipff Festival, who we are, what we do. And yeah, we will at least show you some of our previous events, our previous gala, so that you can see our journey.
It's been exciting, and tonight we're crowning the best of the best.
We're going to be crowning the best and the best, and I'm looking forward to seeing who that will be.
Like the reception, actually the red carpet and everything, and the cocktail was so nice.
Our main reason to participate in this is part of our capacity building initiative, where we give back to the film industry.
I think this event is going to help us build the film industry.
We have this gala here tonight. We want to come up with the best actors and the promoters who could be able to promote this country to another level.
This year, as opposed to last year, we decided to include other categories like feature films, then we had short films, and we had documentaries, and we had animation.
I'm so proud to be part and parcel of this activity because one thing that I've discovered is that art is there for social change.
All people who are involved in the movie making, from producers, directors, the actors themselves, I think this is a higher kind of category than what happened last year.
Thank you so much, Lipff Festival.
It's really exciting to be nominated.
Very, very happy. It's very exciting to hear these awards.
Here is the award for the best cinematographer.
This year 2017, wow! We're looking forward for next year.
Thank you guys for coming. Next year we hope to see you there. Let us tell our African stories in our African languages, in the African way. This is the festival for you.
See you next year for the next Lake International Film Festival.
How fast were you able to see that film on other platforms after it was released?
When you're making this deal, you need to be really aware of how they're going to affect your sales down the line.
They talk about local or domestic and then international.
Distribution and marketing is an entirely difficult field, and the first thing I've learned is that I have to get a sales agent at development of my film, and that is something that I'm going to do right now.
I think the biggest mistake we have done, we've never taken film just as a serious business on its own.
There's no way you're going to do film and you're not known and you're not making money, then you're not doing business.
So understanding how the film industry or the film business work makes it easier to craft stories that can sell and reach audiences that are able to pay.
What do you think can make the cinematic film look way better in terms of post-production?
Cinematography, I've learned a lot. It's so fun. We've been able to learn a number of things that we wouldn't have learned if you wouldn't have come.
Lipff Festival is taking it to the next level, and 2019 is hotter than hottest.
Our theme is art for social change.
There's a waking up of Africa.
We will appreciate the training you will give to our youth so that they know their rights, they know what they can do, so that they know what they cannot do as well. The only way this industry can grow is when we really come together and focus on developing the industry.
So I do hope for all of you that you will get more support every year for continuing your incredible work.
Best feature film.
Last days, Nigeria.
Nigeria people, hey! What's on your mind? Bahari yetu Tanzania.
Sipi Chada.
Zito Samuel from Sweden, Ghana.
Isolated Kenya.
Kenyatta University, Perfect Mess.
Student feature film goes to Gigi Kenya.
The parents in the house.
It's a learning process, and we really appreciate.
The training and the workshop on cinematography has opened my eyes into so many other things that I did not know.
Corporate world is getting interested in the creative economy.
Africa is rising, and the Lipff film is a good opportunity to also empower young Africans to talk about conservation matters.
Wakati mwingine ni vizuri sana kuwafikiria walengwa na kuwapa kila kitu ambacho kweli wanakihitaji kukipata.
Collaborate and tell those stories. It always means a lot, you know, when it comes to our story, the African story.
Are we enjoying Nakuru?
It feels really nice to be here.
I just feel like everything is just amazing.
It has been amazing. I love every single bit of the festival. The hospitality of the people in Kenya has been, you know, superb.
The Lake International Pan-African Film Festival has grown beyond us who founded it. And right now we are welcoming a lot of people to come in and partner with us. The Nakuru County government, we want them to work with us to make Nakuru and the Lipff Festival a tourist attraction event in this country.
Good night, Nagambula is my language.
Yeah, our speakers for the next session are ready, and I'll be bringing back Lucy MUTHUI, but we'd still like to thank our support over the 5 years. So we have had Kenya Film Commission and the French Embassy supporting the festival since its inception, and we're grateful for that. And we also have Amnesty International, who came in last year and they're still standing with us. Together with Talanta Institute, who are supporting us this year, Kenya National Theatre, and RFI, we'd like to say stay tuned because there's more to learn. Going virtual does not mean anything less. It means we are still going to have a great festival. And with that, I just want to welcome back Lucy into her session.
Well, thank you, Dr. Zippy, for this great welcome, and welcome, Dr. Wilmot. We are glad to have you on this discussion, and I don't know whether you followed the previous discussions. We were engaging Distributor in Kenya and have a platform in Sub-Saharan Africa. And I think distribution has always been a discussion where people want to learn more. Where do we take our content and all that? So I'll give you this moment first of all to introduce yourself and tell us more about your company VentureLift Africa, and then now we'll take it from there. Dr. Wilmot.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Dr. Zippy, and to the organizers of your festival. And congratulations to you, first of all, for another successful event. I am Wilmot Allen. I'm based here in Nairobi, where I've lived for about 6 years now. And I want to present to you, yes, VentureLift Africa, but I want to frame it a little differently. One of the things that I think can be integrated into the approach to giving more opportunity, showcasing, highlighting, facilitating deals for African creatives is approaching them as a business opportunity or a trade opportunity, as those of us in finance do with other businesses. And I'll say more about that later, but VentureLift Africa is an advisory firm. And what we do is we advise companies on growth strategies and their ability to scale. We connect them to a portfolio of resources that range from investors, financiers, trade partners, supply chain partners. So this is general business, but within that service model, we also work with creative companies. So that is studios, production companies, and then individuals who are creatives themselves, writers, producers, through a special vehicle now that has been created. So about 3 years ago, I was asked to speak, or 2 years ago, I'm starting to lose track of time, was asked to speak at a Kalasha festival, and I've spoken at a couple of other entertainment events. And I was asked, not so much because of the work I've done at VentureLift, which is primarily focused on SMEs and corporates generally, Lucy, but because of my background and the background that I think is relevant for this call, and the reason why I was asked and am asked to engage with the creative sector is that I'm an investor, I'm an entrepreneur in the tech space, in the investing in private equity. But before I came to found VentureLift, I ran the East Africa Trade Investment Up deal team, facilitating transactions. That is investment trade transactions that had also exposures trade deals. And then before that, I worked at the International Finance Corporation, which is the private sector arm of the World Bank in Washington, D.C., on investment as well in various sectors. Spent time in Silicon Valley, but most as an investment banker and in venture capital with tech. But most relevant was this time that I spent in Hollywood, which was working with the Walt Disney Company and ABC TV in the finance and strategy. And then on the creative side, my experience that I bring is as a creative executive with PBS, which is akin to BBC, that I think more people might be familiar with, an executive in charge of production of a late night news and public affairs show, and creative executive over documentaries and film and news and public affairs programming. And I bring that up because these experiences, together with the investment, the deal facilitation for companies, and the creative background, informs the work that we're doing with VentureLift. And so, and that work is principally partnering with the Black House Foundation, which is a U.S. entity that's focused on basically providing more of a showcase to Black companies, Black executives, particularly in this case in the film industry and television industry, so that more of their properties can be distributed, sold, and broadcast. And I'll say more about that later. So that is the model. That's the sort of the introduction I wanted to give to myself, and just to give those who are watching just a little bit of an understanding how my background is a little different. It's a different approach. It's more of how do we take and view creatives as a business, as an entrepreneur, and then approach them in a similar way as we would with other businesses to help them grow and scale their companies, with distribution being primary among those objectives. So I'll stop there, Lucy.
Okay. Yeah, so I think what I'd like you to take them through is what would you advise content creators? How should they pitch themselves to the industry? Because from where you sit, you sit from the more of the financiers' perspective, and so from a creative point of view, how should they come pitch their content if they have a concept and they have no money and they're looking for a platform to take their content, and they're looking for a worldwide network, and they're looking for funding? So how should they come prepared to pitch themselves to a company like yours?
Okay, and so the model that we use is a little different. I think most of the institutions that are distributors work with that model. I certainly can give that advice, and I think they've heard a lot of great things from the prior speakers. But what I would say, and what I want to introduce to the viewers, is this model. The way we go about it is creating a platform. In this case, our first one will be a screenwriter's pilot that will be an accelerator for the creative sector to help them develop their projects and then advocate for them getting sold. And the model that we present is this: I'm American by nationality, worked in Hollywood. And so just as it would be if you were to ask me to talk about the technology sector, tech startups, whether that's fintech, agri-tech, or other businesses here, part and parcel of the constraint would be access to networks, right? Networks of buyers, networks of customers, et cetera, particularly those that are international. And so what we do, Lucy, to bridge that gap is we aim to be an intermediary between Africa and Hollywood. And I mentioned this, and Heta, who's a friend, probably remembers me saying this. I think it was a year and a half ago at one of the Kalasha festivals that, hey, this is my aim. Well, I'm pleased to say it's come to fruition. And so if I can share my screen, Lucy, is that possible? I would like to either type in the chat,
Yeah, sure.
or share my screen, just the website. Is that okay? Let me
Yeah,
do
you
that.
can share your screen.
Okay. All right, let's see. All right, so it looks like we're okay. Can you all see something that says Black House International Screenwriters Program? Hello?
It's loading.
Is that a yes?
Yeah.
You can. Okay, great.
Your screen is loading. Yeah, it's loading.
It's loading. Okay, great. All right. So let me do something.
Shortly, just give it a second.
I'm sorry? You're saying it's loading, or is it up?
Yeah, we can see your screen now.
Okay, great. So do you see Black House International Screenwriters Program?
Yeah, it's up now. We can see your screen.
Okay, great. So basically, the Black House Foundation, as I said before, is a U.S. entity that's partnered with a former Netflix executive and Paramount Productions executive.
International Screenwriters Program. Yeah.
Yes, whose name is Pauline Fisher and VentureLift Africa. And so what we've done is come together and said, let's create a program whereby, first of all, we can help support the development of properties that are in development, or help refine those that are complete through a screenwriters program. So it's in essence, a creative accelerator. And what the program aims to do is support emerging storytellers globally, again, beginning here in Africa, whether it's film, television, or digital media projects. We aim to launch this pilot here in Kenya next year, so and probably by the second quarter of 2021. And initially, it will be just a small group of writers. To be the structure of it is a 4 to 6 week residency that includes a distance learning program. The idea would be, if these were not COVID times, to actually support an internship in Hollywood. But the goal is to still be matched, for the participants to be matched with an experienced mentor who has significant industry experience. And again, I mentioned PF Media Group. That is the group founded by Pauline Fisher, who is a former Netflix executive. Let me just see if you guys can indulge me, if I can just show you her background, just so that, because I think that what I'm trying to share with you all is that it's really important for in terms of understanding the model that we're presenting. It's a curated match model where we're saying we want to identify some of the great talent in the market in Kenya and East Africa, and based upon our relationships now, curate those projects into relationships that we know where there are institutions that want to acquire, buy, whether it's for television, film, animated. That is our goal. And the reason why the curation is so important is because relationships matter, right? And we want to see, I personally would like to see, the diversity of opportunity beyond just, the cable outlets now, Netflix, and maybe one other outlets that people really are hoping that they can actually penetrate. And so I just want to give you perspective on, Pauline Fisher is former Paramount Pictures and Netflix executive. At Netflix, she ran the acquisitions group as part of the original film initiative, which she spearheaded, which acquired feature films for distribution on Netflix. You may recall some of these titles: Beast of No Nation, Very Merry Christmas, and others. And so I just wanted to give you a sense of that, just so you know who is behind the program, in addition to myself and Black House. And so this is sort of the general outline. If I can give you an email address for myself, if you want to learn more information, you can see the URL here, blackhouse.org. It's in the section called Get Involved. We love to talk with anyone about this program. Pauline will be driving the application review process. I'm helping collect and collate those applications. But why is this important? Again, I just want to emphasize this different approach is because, first of all, budgets are now stressed, I think, in terms of entertainment for many companies across the world because of the stress on the models that we've all experienced and seen during this pandemic. Secondly, there's a backlog, even in places like Hollywood, of content in film and even television that will now be produced. So longer queues, both because of money and also because of the lineup of projects, which means there's going to have to be some navigation of that to really be able to accelerate the acquisition of properties. I'm just going to stop sharing this just for 1 minute. Actually, let me do something else. I'll just take you to this so you can see sort of the demonstration effect of what we mean. And the reason why this approach is really important, Lucy, is because I think it's one that hasn't been tried before in a structured way, but we know that this is how deals get done, whether it's at Sundance, whether it's at Cannes, and whether it's any other film festival, whether it's in Hollywood or even here, based upon curated relationships. And I just like to say that I think everyone on the phone would know this, that this is the time for, I think, greater access and a greater number of creative projects from Africa to be presented to the world. And this is the right time for a business case to be made for why that is a credible endeavor. If you think about the success way back when, movies like Blood Diamond, Last King of Scotland, which were international titles, but even more importantly, everyone knows about Black Panther, rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. That was an incredible demonstration effect that now has opened up the door, right? It's accelerated Netflix's interest in Africa, and now others have come in. And so we're saying we think that one of the traditional ways in which more African creatives, including actors, have gotten access to Hollywood is through the facilitation and partnership with either Black Hollywood themes or Black Hollywood individuals. And so that's what we're trying to curate now. For example, in my case, I learned about Lipff really in terms of her great work was through 12 Years a Slave, right? So it was an African-American historical narrative. And we think that the partnership such as that where there's a natural entree into Hollywood, and we're not saying that that's exclusively or that those on the continent should only work with African Americans. No, we're not saying that. We're saying that this is important that we see where these avenues of opportunity are and begin to work together better, diaspora with Africa. I bring this up because I'm now going to make a transition to a demonstration effect for our model in terms of how we've been able to do this successfully, this curation for other businesses and other enterprises that we're now saying, wait a minute, this should work also for the creative sector. So here it is in September 2020. So just a couple months ago, a month and a half ago, September 21st through 25th, online, we have this event that you see now, the Diaspora Investment and Trade Deal event. We call it the Diddy. And it attracted over 1,000 people as registrants. 800 attendees were told by our admin team from our partners at the MBDA Export Center. What was different about this is that, as you can see, it was about creating this economic bridge between the U.S. and Africa. And we did that by working across a lot of different sectors, bringing in about 70 speakers. And people learned how to do business in Africa. They learned how to grow their business. But the bottom line for this audience is that now we're able to connect businesses here to trade partners, investors, tech transfer partners. So this model in terms of diaspora engagement and having a curated intermediary connect you to relationships is one that works. So I'm going to pause there from my presentation, Lucy, and just go back to script, if you will, with more of the questions you have for me. Again, I took the time to kind of relay this model because I thought it was very important for the audience to understand that given the time we're in, when there's a lot of talk about Black empowerment in America, diversity, addressing structural inequalities, and there's a new interest in Africa, there's a convergence of these things that isn't being talked about. That is diasporas and the diaspora engaging with Africa to not just push, investment into fintech companies, but also help the creative sector along. And so we're really excited about that. We're in discussion now with the Kenya Film Commission. Timothy Awazi spoke at our event. We had an entertainment panel. I should say that. So we had an entertainment panel. Pauline Fisher, who I showed you, spoke. The CEO of Africa Channel, which is a U.S. company, spoke, who is interested in now sourcing more from the continent of Africa, particularly the country of Kenya, because, and here it is again, his primary target market in terms of viewers in the U.S. would be diaspora. It would be Kenyans, Tanzanians, Ugandans in America who want to see local content or similar content to local content from their home countries, can now see that in the U.S. through the Africa channel, but also accessing more of the African American market as viewers that is interested in African content as well. So at this panel, the Africa channel, PMF Media, Milan Selassie, who is a great producer out of South Africa, Mr. Timothy Awazi, the Kenya Film Commission, and Leila Masharia of the Africa Digital Media Institute. And we're talking to all of them about partnering around these endeavors, including a partnership around this screenwriters program. So we again invite you to submit. I can share, or Lucy need to share my contact details. So I'm happy to do that so that you can write me if you're interested in finding out about more about this writers program, the pilot, and then also how if you want to submit an application. And while we're starting with writers, that will not be the end. We will go on to do other things. And VentureLift also is interested in learning about finished properties to now, again, do this curation into buyers and different partners in Hollywood that we have not just individually, but through our network now have access to. So Lucy, I wanted to find out if you wanted to continue with your questions. I can now kind of go through them. Again, I just wanted to show that this is a little different model, that we clearly understand the importance of understanding how to pitch and going through the fundamentals of pitching in order to successfully have your property distributed. But I also want to spend a little time in terms of showing you some new opportunities that now emerging that have to do with sort of a more traditional approach of how investors and trade partners get products sold into international markets. And I still say that is for African content where most of the money will be made, where most of the largest audience will be garnered by engaging the US market. And again, as we would say, if this were just a general business event to the creators and viewers, one thing to keep in mind, particularly with the US-Kenya relationship, is something called the Free Trade Agreement that's being negotiated. And that is to facilitate stronger economic relationship and commerce between between Kenya rather, yes, Africa, Kenya more specifically, and the US. And what is, I think, An untapped opportunity among the category of sectors is the creative sector. And now we want to say, wait a minute, let's not forget about that sector. We can connect them to buyers and opportunities in the US through Hollywood with the facilitation of the African diaspora. So Lucy, did you have questions for me that you wanted to address, or should I continue with more about our model? I'm happy to take questions. I want to make sure that I know probably some of the viewers had very specific questions that are more traditional. Again, and what I've presented is a pretty non-traditional model for how creatives can think about getting their property sold. And so we're saying through a creative accelerator, through direct relationships we have with studios, producers, other partners in Hollywood, and then starting with writers, but moving beyond that as well. Lucy, I think you are on mute.
I think Lucy is on mute. But meanwhile, as we wait for her, there's a question for you, Doc. How do we take or show creatives as entrepreneurs?
I'm sorry?
Someone is asking, how do we take or portray, I think that's what it means, creatives. How do we portray creatives as entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think it has to do with who you sort of partner with, right? So the program, the great opportunities that Heta through her company presented, that's the posture of being a creative. Understanding that, of course, you're an entrepreneur. But with our model, it is sort of based upon seeing yourself as an entrepreneur. And I think you make that transition or adaptation in a few ways. One, you look at evaluating your business differently. It's not just, I have a great script, but I'm building a great business and I have one script, but I need to have maybe a queue of others. And then also maybe I can look at the landscape of opportunity and align what I'm able to produce to that first, as opposed to, I have a great idea, I'm passionate about, I'm going to fight for it and find out, you know, you're doing this. And this is the reality for a lot of us. I've tried things for this long, this way, but I know lots of my friends in Hollywood as well. You know, you push it, you know, it's your project, you're passionate about it, you pound the table. 5 years go by, 10 years go by, and you still don't get anywhere. A different way of viewing that is, as an entrepreneur, it's something we call product market fit. Doing an assessment of the market, does your product fit? Now that goes beyond just, I think, the very necessary work of looking across landscape of distributors and saying, oh, they're looking for comedies. Oh, they're looking for, you know, dramas. They're looking for this, to saying, what is the larger opportunity set beyond maybe companies in my market that we can now access? And it could be starting with doing a commercial or participating in a music video that's African themed and getting your team to do that just to get noticed. Or it could be finding a great book on the New York Times bestseller list and saying, look, we have great writers in our house, if you will, and we're going to contact this writer or use our services to do that and try to produce a book and adapt it to the local sort of culture here in Africa and see if we could get someone to actually be interested in investing in this. So it's being more entrepreneurial by looking beyond just the linear, I'm a creative, I have one distributor or two, to the larger opportunity set, and looking first and foremost at your business as being a business because you have paying customers, not because you have a great idea, right? A business is something technically that has paying customers. That's what separates it from like a concept, among other things. I'm simplifying it somewhat. And so I think those are just a few of the ways I would answer that question, Dr. Zippy. Dr. Zippy, I think you're on mute yourself. I can't hear you. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I'd like to ask you a question that's off the hook. Right now in Africa in general, a lot of producers, and I think even the audiences are very crazy about Netflix. So that when we get a distributor or a sales agent, our first question is, will you get me to Netflix? So what are your thoughts about this? Like the market scope, is Netflix the ultimate answer to what we have wanted, or what are other models that are available?
Yeah, look, I know Dorothy Katuba. She's very talented. She's a friend. I think she's going to expand the opportunity set for Kenya, as you continue to see them doing for other parts of the continent. But of course, just given the sheer number of supply versus demand, there has to be, an assessment and a discovery of other opportunities. And so, I come through this sort of whole conversation with a very, very specific lens that I'm trying to see more African creatives buy into. And that is, I can tell you best about the American market. I can tell you best about diaspora opportunities. And what I would say is, what we're trying to do now is say, look, we know of now many people of African descent of the diaspora in America who are decision makers and owner of the means of production of creative production, whether that's Tyler Perry, Byron Allen, Oprah Winfrey. And I think the task that we're now taking on is sort of designing or retelling the narrative from the local perspective, right? So much of African continent has been framed by through the lens of foreigners and not authentically coming from Africa. We understand that. We understand as African Americans how that has happened to us. And so what we're saying now, let's partner and let's look at these other opportunities where we can curate you into some relationships that include other sort of smaller production companies, that include smaller sort of short form videos, that includes, as I said before, connecting with some of the talented writers of the African diaspora who don't know how to develop something into a movie or to a script, and being able to be paired with them and using their network, Dr. Zippy, who have the ears of Wall Street, who have the ears of Hollywood maybe, and maybe the literary world, and using that relationship to partner with them to get something sold. And so again, it's a curated model where we say, let's go out to more distributors, more players that increase the opportunity set beyond Netflix and the others that have a growing presence here on the continent. And I'll give you one other thing while you're unmuting, that's this. Something strange has happened in terms of online, the popularity of online access and online engagement of media. And so at the same time, again, I think as an entrepreneur, look at what's converging. What is converging is a deep desire to understand more about Africa, African culture, contemporary, but more so historical, and to be able now to take those projects to Hollywood. I'll give you a good example. This is a live one. Right now, we're looking to option a book and looking for a writer on a great narrative, historical narrative related to Africa. And I can't tell you exactly what the story is, but what we're looking to do is find writers from the continent, from West Africa, East Africa, who actually can help us with those, get that project written. And people like Pauline have, access to Hollywood producers and financiers who actually maybe, be able to finance those projects.
Great. Thank you for that. We really appreciate all this information. I get excited when you talk about looking into the diaspora market and collaborations, because That's one thing that a lot of the African producers in the continent lack. Let me say it, let me talk as a producer, we lack the connection of how do we even reach out and create these collaborations with the diaspora producers, so that even if we are collaborating in terms of having some scenes in the states where they're in, or having some scenes in Africa, and having a product that can reach both markets, so that in whatever platforms it goes to, then it can be able to reach a greater audience because of the collaboration aspect. And I hope through VentureLift we can be able to get these connections. You can be our connector.
Can I ask you a question? So, what do you think will be the obstacles for this? Because this will help us with our program design. Meaning, this whole enterprise of bringing a creative accelerator, which there are others. This is not the first one. What we believe is relatively unique is that we now, because of the people involved will be from Hollywood, that's a channel of opportunity into Hollywood in the U.S. But we're also saying the people that we're bringing to kind of facilitate that primarily, but not exclusively, are going to be guys from the diaspora who have the experience, have a genuine interest in Africa, not just from an economic standpoint, and seeing African creatives uplifted. What do you think would be the obstacles to the success of a program like this, and then just this entire enterprise that I laid back? Because I haven't really had a focus group or a detailed deep dive into a conversation just to give us feedback on this.
I think the current obstacle is the fact that they don't even know who is who. Like those who are in the diaspora do not know the exact producers in Africa they can collaborate with. Like I can watch a movie and know, oh, this is a Hollywood producer. And they also watch and they say, this is a Kenyan producer, this is a South African producer. But now they don't know each other in person, these two parties. And when you don't know each other in person, it's hard to even start a business dialogue. So that one is, I think, one of the greatest obstacles, how to reach and how to create that connection so as to start networking. Because I think once that is broken, then everyone can be able to discuss what are the possibilities, what each party has. When it comes to equipment, I think we have equipment both sides. It's about creating that connection and the network and deciding on working terms. Yeah.
So Dr. Zippy, I'm all about partnerships and taking away things that will lead to tangible outcomes, even from panel sessions. And so what I want to invite you to consider is that if you can help us organize a network, whether it's writers, producers, and directors, we're happy to meet with them and to try to help them in any way we can in terms of making these connections. Because I do think that part of it is the dots not being connected. People are looking for projects in Africa not knowing where to go. And so we're trying to aggregate not thousands or even hundreds, but a good 20 in those various writers, directors, producers, to be able to now say, hey, we have a critical mass of talented creatives here. We'd like to introduce you to them. So if you're willing to engage us on that, we're happy to partner with LIPFF on that and have a way of getting something more tangibly from this that will benefit the viewers.
I'll take that request, and I don't want to use the word promise, but we will do it.
Okay, and I've put in the chat, I think it's a private chat, maybe someone can broadcast it publicly. The email, you can reach me at info@vlafrica.com. That's our general information, and just specify what your interest is in being part in applying or learning more about this fellowship program for writers, or being part of this network of writers, producers, and directors. And then I sent also the URL for the Black House site that I put up and shared the screen for, and how you can learn more information about that program. And its target date is second quarter for 2021. Yeah. And I think what I'll say, Thank you. Dr. Zippy is that it's important for, while I've said a lot of things about being an entrepreneur and adapting, I think it's important to also lift up authenticity and to continue to be authentic, because I do think what hopefully the guys come to understand is that, look, we all were created for a purpose. I think in terms of the canon, if you will, of cultural production that is internationally acclaimed, internationally viewed, et cetera, there's a wide opportunity now for African stories and African creatives to actually present those. And so someone mentioned, I think it was Heta, she talked about, animation. I think that's just one of the many categories now. Guys have Hollywood and others across the world have expressed an interest in terms of authentic animated stories coming from Africa. And what I'll say is, we've seen the success of that from Lion King. We've seen how that doesn't, the unbalanced benefit, I'll say it that way, that some of these movies create vis-a-vis Africa creatives and the culture that actually informs the stories. And so that would be what I would say, is that, this is really, really hard work, but it's really worth it. The second thing I'll say, Dr. Zippy, is just encourage more of the creatives, especially the writers, to read broadly, meaning to find great stories, because, if you are very, very young, I know the continent of Africa skews young, 20, 21, 25, you need to expand the pool of creative that you actually can pull from, that is ideas. And so some of that's going to come through discovering other stories that can be adapted to the local context here. That could be leveraged into something great. So I think that alchemist perspective of taking a little bit of this and that, making it great, putting a signature African stamp or Kenyan stamp on it, is something that should be explored. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we will organize that, and we believe a lot of creatives will be interested in joining. Favor Media is saying, yes, we need to create a network between producers from different countries. And Musioki Kivindio says, what channels, for example, do East Africans in the USA watch that carry Swahili content, or whether online or cable?
Yeah. So look, I think the best channel that covers African content probably exclusively would be the Africa channel. You can just find it at africachannel.com. And they're actually looking for partnerships here in East Africa. So if anyone wants me to make an introduction, I'm happy to. But other than that, I think, if you're not Kenyan American, then it's probably not happening, right? But if you're Kenyan American, it's the same things that probably that you all and that most of the population will access. Whether it's citizens, whether it's whatever. And so I think it's the same. But I think the challenge is expanding, the pool of viewers beyond just the second and third generation Americans who are Kenyan American or East African American. Yeah. So the platform, the knowledge is very, very limited, and the engagement consequently is very, very limited.
Thank you. I can see Lucy's back. I don't know if she has got any other questions for you. Hi, Lucy. Oh, we can't hear you too. Hi, Lucy.
Hi.
Okay.
Yes. So I think the presentation was amazing. I was following from the background. I'm sorry for the technical hitch. Maybe to wrap this up, Wilmot, you can tell us maybe in the next 5 or so years where you see our film industry going, and which kinds of content do you want to see us churning out to be more competitive with the international market?
Yeah, so I think it's going to be online rather than theatrically in terms of the broader opportunity set. But there's no denying millions of dollars, billions of dollars, I should say, in terms of the success, the box office success of things like Black Panther. And there are other great stories. And so internationally, I will always kind of say that that's what I know the most about, because that's my experience. I think it's this, and this may come as a surprise, but the biggest, and in fact, we're happy to talk to people about this again because we need partners that are creatives. But Lucy, it's this. The lowest hanging fruit, I think, isn't like getting into an IMAX theater through a distribution deal with MGM, whoever the studio is, or even Netflix. The lowest hanging fruit, it may be difficult to crack it open, but once this market cracks open, it's going to be huge. And that is grassroots efforts now and grassroots interest in Africa. That starts with, we don't see this yet, but it's coming. Educational institutions. Just as those here probably understand that local history, the content is a little bit unbalanced, it is in America as well. And I'm going to always kind of direct folks to that market because I know it's the best, and I see what's coming in terms of policies to facilitate greater U.S.-Kenya engagement, U.S.-Africa engagement. What do I mean? I mean, for example, if we can get creatives to focus on telling the story of African history and introducing that to public school systems, private school systems in the U.S., because in the U.S., history goes back to slavery only. There's no mention of any of the great kingdoms, Benin, in Mali, any of the Mau Mau rebellion. There's no mention of that, the revolution here. And so, but that's rich history now. The world is saying, wait a minute, let's open up the canon. It's very, very unbalanced. Why is that the case? Well, it happens for many different reasons, but the long and short of it is there are opportunities that are uncommon and non-traditional where media content, here it is, that is educational and informative, in addition to having some creative value, is now going to be desired. But we have to make the market for it, meaning we have to say to PBS, this is something you can now distribute through your school system, and they will pay. I was a creative executive at PBS, and we worked on educational projects for schools. It was, in this case, a topic of just learning about American culture, right? So it was learning our history, the history of America, learning our politics, et cetera, et cetera. But now that can be expanded to the larger genre of international history that's taught to people in grade school, in high school, and even in college. So I think it's going to be opportunities like those that aren't even on the radar screen that just blow up, because people are now going to demand, hey, we want to see more diverse content. We want to know our history. And guess what? For in America, if it's African Americans in the diaspora saying that, everything has going to come through Africa. It's going to have to come through Africa.
Awesome. Maybe I think now we can wrap this up. What are your parting shots? What would you advise filmmakers in terms of how to create better content, and what is your advice to them?
Yeah, I think I've summarized it and said a few times, Lucy, when you were away. But this whole notion of be entrepreneurial, see your gift, your concept as it is, but also begin to think about how you can develop a business around it through some of the other things that I mentioned. I think authenticity, continue to bet on yourself, meaning that you are, as an African person, the best authority on Africa than someone else, even myself coming in who is African descent, but diaspora, long bloodlines that trail a long ways and go back to West Africa, even in someone like myself, sort of projecting that onto what you should do. I think that's the second thing. And then the third thing is that it just takes a lot of tenacity. I think the tenacity has to shift now from just believing in an idea to being smart as a business person, an entrepreneur, expanding the opportunity sets beyond just sort of traditional players that you would knock on their doors for, for distribution deals and consider some of the things we have mentioned. Going through a program, an accelerator program, getting connected to distributors that way, looking at titles and people who have connections to literary networks and to publishers and to Hollywood studios. And the convergence of that is helping to write scripts that could be shopped, and it may not be your first love, but it's a way to get you into the door so you can bring your first love projects in. So I think those are just a few of the things that I would say. And most of all, continue to be a student. Read voraciously, particularly great stories, great books, but also the headlines as to what is going on. You know, pay attention to the Hollywood Reporter. I'm not sure you all ever talk about that. I'm going to put it in the chat. HollywoodReporter.com, Variety.com. These are Hollywood publications, and there are things like Gravity, which are some of the African American ones. And I can give you a list, because there may be things that, you know, different writers, directors, producers can apply for that you have no idea that there's a demand for because of a lack of knowledge. So expanding your knowledge of where the opportunities are outside of Kenya, outside of Africa, where there might be an interest in African entertainment. And in America there is, because there's an interest in Black entertainment, but also because of now the growing interest in Africa specifically and its diversity, right? We are not a homogeneous group. The creative set, the gifts that we have are broad-based. And so I think, you know, that's what gradually the world is coming to understand and be willing to pay for.
Great. Wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Wilmot, for sharing your insights and all your advice to filmmakers. And I think Dr. Zippy shared your contact. So if you'd like to reach out to Dr. Feel free to do so on the contacts that were shared. Thank you so much, Wilmot. We look forward to engaging with you more in the near future. And yeah, you're most welcome. Dr. Zippy?
Thank you so much, guys. So we are very excited. And yes, Dr. Wilmot, let me say, after the Lipff, we have got quite a network of producers, not just in Kenya, but in Africa. We have a list of nominees last year. In all these 5 years, even if we look at closely like last year and this year, we can talk to them to join a discussion where you can tell us more on how to create these collaborations with the diaspora. And I think that's in order. So thank you so much for today. And Lucy, thank you too so much. I can see technology. You have decided it's 2 gadgets or nothing. Yeah, we say technology was brought by man. So if it tries to do anything, then we will deal with it. So thank you so much, guys. I'll appreciate. Tomorrow, to the audience, tomorrow we have another session of Know Your Distributor from 10 a.m. And tomorrow's session will end at 1:30. And so, because we are going to have 5 panelists, so come with your questions ready. This is the time we say, as a producer, you need to know your distributor so that you make the right choice, because they are all for different audiences, all for different kind of platforms, and all for different types of content. So we are here for you. Join us today in the afternoon from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. for another panel discussion, The Rise of Women Filmmakers. And if you'd like to watch the film's screening during the 5th edition of the Lipff, look at our Facebook page and you'll see the Zoom link to watching those films. From 2 p.m., we have some screenings going on till 4 p.m. and then again in the evening from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So stay tuned and keep it here at Lipff 2020 5th edition, virtual edition. And I think again, I will leave you to watch how last year was, and we hope this year will be equally exciting, even though we are going virtual. Thank you so much.
Our theme is art for social change.
There's a waking up of Africa.
We appreciate the training that you give to our youth, so that they know their rights, they know what they can do, so that they know what they cannot do as well. The only way this industry can grow is when we really come together and focus on developing the industry.
I do hope for all of you that you will get more support every year for continuing your incredible work.
Best feature film.
Last days, Nigeria.
Nigeria people, hey! What's on your mind? Mahali yetu Tanzania.
Sipi Chada.
Distributor Samuel Obedient Ghana.
Isolated Kenya. Kenyatta University Perfect Mix.
Student feature film goes to GG Kenya.
The parents in the house.
It's a learning process and we really appreciate.
The training and the workshop on cinematography has opened my eyes into so many other things that I did not know.
Corporate world is getting interested in the creative economy.
Africa is rising, and the Lipff film is a good opportunity to also empower young Africans to talk about conservation matters.
Wakati mwingine ni vizuri sana kuwafikiria walengwa na kuwapa kila kitu ambacho kweli wanakihitaji kukipata.
Collaborate and tell those stories. It always means a lot, when it comes to our story, the African story.
I really enjoyed Nakuru.
It feels really nice to be here.
I just feel like everything is just amazing.
It has been amazing. I love every single bit of the festival. The hospitality of the people in Kenya has been, superb.
The Lake International Pan-African Film Festival has grown beyond us who founded it. And right now we are welcoming a lot of people to come in and partner with us. The Nakuru County government, we want them to work with us to make Nakuru and the Lipff Festival a tourist attraction event in this country.
Good night. Nagambula is my language.